Good morning, this is Jack from the ArtChart.net, and this is the pre-market recording for Tuesday, the 28th of August. Our disclaimer, we do this for educational purposes only. We're here to share our technical analysis with you. We hope you can take some of what we're doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. We're not here to issue trading signals. Right, ES. We're on the verge of getting, I've got a possible rising wedge here. Might need to go a little higher, maybe. Wasn't sure it hit that trend line. We now have, having lost yesterday's possible 60-minute sell signal in the rush upwards. We had another possible weak one form overnight, and we lost that one too. And but now we have quite a lot of space. We could go up a few handles more, definitely within this, but we've got a nice divergence, and chances are this is the one that is going to develop into a sell signal. Stan's been commenting about us being on a DMARC bar 9. This is, I think, pretty ready to roll over soon, although I will be coming to a comment on the SPX chart about the possibility that we break up and head towards target in the 2930 area. I think that's unlikely, but it is always a possibility. All right, NQ. We've got a sell signal brewing, by the way, on ES, because we've got a little higher since I capped this chart. We've also done the same on NQ. We've now got a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing here too. What are we looking at in terms of short-term support and resistance? Not a lot to work with there. I think if we see a retracement back to the high 7490s, sorry, the high 7400s, then we might get a trend line, but in the interim, there's not a lot to work with here. And no obvious, well, I think when we get a decent retracement to touch this trend line, at that stage, the resistance trend line will be obvious, but until then, it won't be. All right, let's have a quick look at SPX. Just updating, hang on. Right, SPX, we're not going to get much of a divergence here at the moment unless we see a retracement and then a retest of the high. I've got a possible wedge resistance here, but this is what I'm talking about. We've gone through this, we've gone through these two trend lines. This could be a bearish overthrow of this trend line, by the way, on the purple ones. But if we went high enough from here and sustained it, we'd then be looking at this trend line here, which is possible channel resistance. It's a decent looking trend line, and that's currently in about the 29, 25 to 30 area. That is the upside risk here. Not expecting to see that, but never rule these things out. Okay, CL. CL, I think, is likely to retest this high. We're already on a 60-minute sell signal. I'm expecting to see a second high of a small double top and a reversal back down to that would have a target in about the 67 area and would get us back to this rising support trend line, which is currently in about the 67.05 area. In G, I've got a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing. Nice move down off the top. Best fit is a double top here, although there is a case here for a possible head and shoulders. But if we're going to see any decent sort of a rally, then it would probably get above 2.91. I think I've got a possible support trend line here. I'm watching with interest to see what happens. We could continue straight down, but if we reverse, then we'll have a 60-minute buy signal. Stan is looking for a bit of a bounce. Right, GC still looks like a flag forming. Got a possible 60-minute sell signal forming. This is heavily dependent on whether we see a bounce on DX, and we are actually reaching the monthly pivot on DX, so that is a potential support area. Okay, SI, possible flag forming, again, very heavily dependent on DX. We have another possible 60-minute sell signal brewing. HG, we actually have a 60-minute sell signal fixed. Again, possible flag brewing, might need to go a little higher within that flag, depending on whether it's a flag channel, which I put in the trend line for, or a flag wedge, which is harder to predict. We shall see. All right, ZB. ZB is broken down below this asymmetric double top. We could still see a head and shoulders form with a bounce from here, ideally into about the 145.20 area. But I'd be concerned if we saw that we'd be basically looking at a rejection of this asymmetric double top. So we shall see how that goes. I've got no current divergence. No, actually I do. No, sorry, I've put no current divergence there, but actually I've got a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing, so I'm watching that. DX. DX is getting down to the monthly pivot. Now, if this is a channel, then it's got further to go, and I've got channel support currently in about the 94.125 area, but we've got a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing here. We are reaching a key support area. One thing I would note is I've been considering the possibility that this is a head and shoulders here. I don't particularly like its positioning, but I would note that we broke below this level here. I mean, to a certain extent, this is just a break below a support level and a back test. to confirm that as resistance, but I'm just saying this is a possible head and shoulder neckline. We could be continuing straight down. If we break and convert the monthly pivot to resistance, then we may be continuing straight down, in which case the prospects for a retracement on metals will recede. Okay, EURUSD. Got a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing here, possible wedge. Looks like it needs a little higher, but then DX needs a little lower too, in all probability. USD-JPY. This looks like a flag forming. And bigger picture, this looks like it might well be be an IHS right shoulder forming. Ideally, that would have a low in the 110.10 area, although that is a little low and it might reverse before then. Not far above the weekly pivot, 110.81. USD CAD. USD CAD, I'm very glad to see this coming off. It's coming off with, of course, DX. I don't have any positive divergence here. The obvious trend line support is in the 1.2875 area. Australian dollar, looks like it might be rolling over here. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed. Possible topping action, might be a little double top here. Watching, obviously, key supporters at weekly pivot. 73.15. Okay, KC, possible IHS forming here, in which case it wouldn't take an awful lot more to form the right shoulder. A little time, it could break up at any time. If we get below, if that breaks up and we get beyond this trendline resistance just over 1.09, then that would be a significant breakup. In the meantime, we could see a retracement here. Stands looking for a retest of the low, and we do have a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing. SB, we don't have any current divergence. This is a possible IHS breaking up. Not a bad one, actually, although the head looks a little unbalanced, obviously. If we see a fell below, well, basically breaking conversion of weekly pivot, in all probability fells this IHS and sets up a Janus flag retest to the low. In the interim, we could, of course, break up towards the monthly pivot at 1108, which would be the IHS target area. CC, we've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed, possible topping action here, no obvious pattern. We've got a neckline just above 2280, a potential one. ZW. CW broke very slightly below my support trend line. It wasn't a particularly strong support trend line, but it hasn't really followed through. We did lose the positive divergence that we had when we went through it. We might need to develop some more. So watching this with interest. This is now in Stan's target area. Which was a little low for me because I didn't want to see it really much below the 61.8. That always makes me wonder about a retest of the low, which is possible, but not really working on a cycles point of view. Right, corn, we made the lower low that Stan was talking about. I've got a 4-hour buy signal fixed. This could be bottoming action here, we shall see. Soy went lower again, broken the short-term declining resistance, but this might just be to establish a more convincing resistance trend line. This one was a little steep. We don't have any positive divergence. That would have me leaning towards a retest of the low. We are pretty close to a retest of this low here, and if we see that, that could be the second low of a double bottom. So I am wondering whether we're going to see that retest. We shall see. All right, great. I'm going to stop the recording there.